Last April, I decided to treat myself to a solo weekend in the mountains. It had been a long winter, and the idea of fresh air, blooming wildflowers, and some quiet time away from screens sounded perfect. I booked a small cabin near a state forest and planned a moderate trail hike I'd been eyeing for a while. Nothing too remote, just scenic enough to feel like a spring reset. The morning I set out was gorgeous, sunny, crisp, and full of birdsong. I parked at the trailhead, laced up my boots, and set off with my backpack and water bottle. The trail was mostly empty, just me, some squirrels, and the sound of leaves underfoot. Every so often, I'd stop to snap a photo of a blooming dogwood or little streams that had thawed from the snowmelt. That calm didn't last. About an hour in, the trail curved around a ridge, and I started to notice the temperature drop. It wasn't much at first, just enough to make me pull on a hoodie, but within minutes, the air got heavy and damp. Then the fog arrived. It came fast, like something out of a movie. One moment I was admiring a clearing, the next I could barely see a few feet ahead. It felt like the forest swallowed itself whole. I slowed my pace, pulled up my map on my phone, and checked my location. Still on track. No need to panic. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. Not animals. Rhythmic human footsteps. Behind me. Just a few paces off. I stopped. The sound stopped too. I spun around. Nothing, just mist and trees. I stood there for a few seconds, holding my breath. Then slowly, I started walking again. The footsteps returned. Softly, measured, always just out of sight. I picked up my pace. They did too. Suddenly, I remembered something. Before the hike, I downloaded an offline trail map, just in case. I pulled out my phone and checked it again. And that's when I noticed something chilling. I wasn't on the trail anymore. At some point in the fog, I'd passed a split and taken the wrong path. I was heading deeper into the woods and worse. The trail marker behind me had been turned the wrong way, like someone wanted me off course. On a rock near the base of the fork was a single word scratched into the surface. Stay. That's when I decided I wasn't going any further. I stopped walking. Footsteps did too. I called out. Just one word. Hello? No answer. Just silence. Thick and heavy. I backed up slowly, turned around, and retraced my steps as best I could, checking my phone's map constantly. It took longer than I expected, but eventually the fog began to lift, and I found my way back to the main trail. When I finally reached the parking lot, I was shaking. Mine was still the only car there. Later that day, I mentioned what happened to a ranger at the visitor station. He got serious immediately and told me I wasn't the first person to report that kind of thing. Over the past couple years, trail signs had been tampered with multiple times, and a few solo hikers had gotten dangerously lost. They think it's someone local messing with people. Maybe worse. They're still investigating, and they told me I was lucky I turned back when I did. I don't hike alone anymore. And if I ever do again, I check every marker twice. Because in the fog, you don't always know what or who you're walking toward. I've always loved spring. The colors, the warmth, the way the world slowly wakes up after winter. This year I wanted to do something small but peaceful to celebrate. So I bought a cute wooden birdhouse and set it up on a post in my backyard. I even installed a tiny wildlife cam inside to watch the birds build a nest. At first, it was just that, a wholesome hobby. Every morning with my coffee, I'd check the app and watch a pair of wrens build their little home. The footage was simple. Nesting materials, fluttering wings, soft chirps. It was comforting, until it wasn't. One night I couldn't sleep. I opened the Birdhouse app just out of habit. The video was black and white, infrared mode, and I wasn't expecting to see anything at that hour. But there was movement. Not inside the birdhouse, outside. A figure was visible on the edge of the frame, in my backyard, standing still, facing the birdhouse, not moving. At first, I thought maybe it was a raccoon or some kind of animal tripping the motion sensor, but the shape was too tall, too human. It disappeared from the frame a few seconds later. I convinced myself it was just a glitch, shadows, wind, anything but what it looked like. The next night, I checked again. This time, the figure was closer, standing behind the birdhouse, still, almost like they were watching the camera directly. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. There was no flashlight, no attempt to hide, just a silent presence in the dark, in my yard. I ran to the back window, nothing. But in the morning, when I went outside, I found something chilling. The birdhouse had been turned slightly. It was now facing my bedroom window. I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I saved the footage, printed screenshots, and filed a report. The police took it seriously, thankfully. One of the officers suggested I get a motion floodlight and mount an extra security cam, just in case. I did both that same day. I didn't sleep much that night. Around 2:30 a.m., the new motion light went off. I didn't check the camera. I called the police immediately. When they arrived and checked the footage, they caught a clear shot. A man, wearing a hood, walking slowly across the yard toward the house. When the light came on, he froze. Then he turned and walked away. The best part? The image was clear enough that they matched it to a suspect already under investigation for prowling in the area. Someone who had been using small security cameras, like birdhouse cams, to scope out homes and monitor people's schedules. He was arrested 2 days later. The birds kept nesting, and so did I. But now, every time I walk past that birdhouse, I remember the night I saw someone looking back and realize that spring isn't the only thing that wakes up this time of year. It started out innocent enough. Just a guy with a flower cart. I live on a quiet street, the kind of neighborhood where people smile when they pass by and wave from their driveways. So when I saw the flower cart man for the first time, I didn't think much of it. It was early April, warm and breezy, and he was pushing a vintage wooden cart down the sidewalk, filled with daffodils, tulips, and little bundles of baby's breath. He wore a tan jacket, a brimmed hat, and dark sunglasses. Looked like something out of an old movie. Didn't say much, just left a small bouquet on my doorstep with a card that said, "Enjoy the spring." No name, no contact, just that. At first I thought it was sweet, some local business promotion or a neighbor spreading kindness. But a few days later I saw him again. Same man, same cart, same silent routine. Only this time I noticed something strange. He only stopped at houses where someone was home alone. Not all houses, just specific ones. My neighbor's husband was away for the week. She got flowers. The college student across the street lives alone. Flowers. Retired couple? Nothing. I watched from behind my curtain as he paused at my neighbor's door, looked around, and gently placed another small bouquet. Then, without knocking or ringing, he walked away. It happened again. A week later. By this point, I hadn't received another bouquet, probably because I was working from home and had guests staying over. But the woman 2 doors down, newly divorced, living alone, got hers. I decided to check my security camera footage, and that's when I felt my stomach turn. He came up the walkway around 3:17 p.m. The footage shows him approaching slowly, looking up at my windows like he was checking for movement. Then he turned and left without dropping anything off, almost like he was waiting for the right moment. One night, my dog started barking around 2 a.m. I got up, groggy, thinking it was just a raccoon or something outside. But when I checked the camera feed the next morning, I saw something I'll never forget. A flower cart, parked at the end of my driveway. No one was pushing it. No one in sight. It sat there for over 20 minutes. Then, gone. That was enough for me. I talked to a few neighbors who had also received the mystery bouquets. One of them, an older man who used to work for the city, told me the flower cart man had actually been seen last year and the year before, always in spring, always quiet, always targeting people home alone. We took the footage to the local police. To my surprise, they were already looking into him. Multiple reports had come in about someone trespassing, leaving flowers, and in at least one case, trying to open a back door. They increased patrols in our area, and just like that, the flower cart vanished. No one's seen him since. I still like springtime. I still put flowers on my table, but now I buy them myself. Because if a stranger ever leaves a bouquet at your door, don't just ask who it's from. Ask why he chose you.